You had a hell of a day yesterday, Mr. Farage, but what can you tell us this morning about the rest of your conference?
Well, the police had this instruction to close the conference down, and indeed, whilst I was on stage, they came in with this document, but there were only 3 police officers and a huge number of people, and they also saw cameras from all over the world, and they sort of bottled out. We wondered whether today's conference would go ahead, but overnight it is going ahead. The Prime Minister of Belgium has intervened to say what happened yesterday was wrong, as indeed did Rishi Sunak and the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, as well. This is a very deeply intolerant place. If you come to Brussels with a different point of view, if you question the whole project of European Union, they literally try to shut you down. And I think what happened yesterday was a massive own goal.
I wanted to challenge you on that a little bit, because you've just listed a number of European leaders who have criticised the actions yesterday, and then in the same breath said that this was all about you being anti-EU. But as my understanding is, there were concerns, rightly or wrongly, to be debated depending on people's persuasions, that who you were sharing a platform with were potentially going to cause public disorder. Somebody like Viktor Orban, who I think is speaking today, somebody who's been accused in Hungary, where he's president, of shutting down dissent, journalists, politicians who don't share his own opinion, and a close ally of Putin as well.
Hang on a second. Viktor Orban is the most successful politician in Europe. He repeatedly gets re-elected at general elections in a multi-party system with over 50% of the vote. People may not like his politics, but he is a legitimate leader. And the idea that a prime minister of a country should not be allowed to come to Brussels and speak on a platform, frankly, the very concept is monstrous.
And what about the point about the EU? Because you were saying a moment ago that this was, an example of why you're glad that we've left and that Brexit is a good thing. I mean, this wasn't about the EU, though, was it, really?
The whole conference was a coming together of Eurosceptic groups who question the globalist structure that is the European Union. We've got European elections coming in just a few weeks' time, and it looks like parties, UKIP-style parties, are going to top the poll in 9 or 10 European countries. This was getting ready for the European elections, and I came here formally as a group leader in the European Parliament to encourage them all. And I think they can now go back to their countries and say, look, see how deeply intolerant the European project is. See how fundamentally anti-democratic it is. And I think what yesterday did is going to be a huge boost to those parties in June. Yeah,
and free speech obviously needs to be protected. Labour have come out today really criticising the Prime Minister for allowing members of the Conservative Party, like Suella Braverman, who was until recently Home Secretary. I mean, is that a fair point, or should people within the party be entitled to go and speak and give their views wherever they want?
Well, of course they should, and members of the Labour Party attend conferences all over the world. The fact that we've seen these comments from the Labour Party actually worries me, because it's 99% certain, according to Sir John Curtis, that Keir Starmer is going to be in power after the next election. So are we going to see a British Labour government that clamps down on free speech? It looks like the Labour Party have sided with the mayors in Brussels, who now have closed down 2 venues, attempted to close down a 3rd. I'm really worried. If that's the direction Labour are going in, it's very concerning.
Yeah. Tell us about the mayor in Brussels, Nigel, and where he comes from. And he was worried about the threat of violence yesterday. Did there look as if there was going to be any violence when you were speaking?
So Brussels has a series of local mayors. The first venue we had was cancelled after pressure from the local mayor. The second venue we had was cancelled after pressure from the local mayor. The third venue, what happened was the Tunisian businessman who owned the establishment said to the local mayor, go to hell. These people are entitled to come, speak freely, behave. And as for any violence, Eamon, I can tell you, in the room, we had members of European royal families, we had distinguished academics, we had businessmen, businesswomen. I mean, this actually was quite an intellectual gathering of people. I can't think of a more peaceful group of people to be in a room with. The whole thing was a nonsense. They wanted to shut down free speech. They tried, but I'm pleased to say we've won. And I'm heading off to the conference again now. The conference will continue.
Right, we will let you do that. Thanks, Nigel. Thanks for keeping us up to date. Really appreciate it.